Welcome to Fun and Games Side Quests. Every episode is a different host sharing a video game they love and why they love it.
What is up, everybody? My name is Cameron Hawkins. I am a writer/host. You may have seen me on IGN, Kind of Funny, GameSpot. I've been around, but today I wanted to talk to you about a game that's really special to me that a lot of people haven't played or may not have heard of. And if you're listening to this and you have heard of it, it's probably because I've been very annoying about it on Twitter about about it all. And I wanted to kind of talk organically out loud to you all about Tokyo Mirage Sessions, Sharp FE. Or some of you may know it as Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore. So going into this game, we have to kind of do some backtracking on my on what led me to discover this game and things like that. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is that what Tokyo Mirage Sessions is. So Tokyo Mirage Sessions was originally known as Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. It was going to be a crossover game, which it still is, that people expected it to be kind of more in the vein of Shin Megami Tensei in the sense of gameplay and things like that. And before I realized that was a project that was being in the works, because there weren't many updates about it until Tokyo Mirage Session, it got like re-announced more or less as Tokyo Mirage Sessions, I played Fire Emblem Awakening for the first time, and it was my first Fire Emblem game, and I thought that game, and I still think that game, is an absolute masterpiece. Like I could have like, you know, sat down and talked about Fire Emblem Awakening instead of Tokyo Mirage Sessions. Fire Emblem Awakening is one of my top 5 favorite games. I think it's the best game on the 3DS. I think it is an incredibly special game, and it, you know, made me fall in love with the Fire Emblem franchise. Obviously, I knew about Fire Emblem because of Smash Brothers. You know, Marth, Ike, Roy, they were all in there. But this was the first one where I'm just like, you know, I saw when it first came out that it got really good reviews. And, you know, so once I finally got my 3DS, I was just like, okay, I'm going to play this and check it out. I want to say it was like 2015 that I finally got to play Fire Emblem Awakening. I was just absolutely blown away by it, and like immediately made Fire Emblem become one of my favorite franchises. You know, I've played every Fire Emblem to this, like, since that has come out. Well, with Fates, I've played Birthright. I've dabbled in Conquest. I need to go back to those games and beat them, although they just didn't meet the same expectations that I had with Awakening. So with that in mind, you know, I was just shortly after beating one of my favorite games of all time at the time, and now going into, you know, it was like a Nintendo Direct, I'm pretty sure, where they basically were like, oh, Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem. I'm like, oh yeah, I think I remember this was a thing that's been going on for some time now, and just got re-announced like as Tokyo Mirage Sessions, which they basically decided to kind of go a different path than what they were originally planning with this collaboration. And at face value, which a lot of my favorite games are like this, it seems a little ridiculous because you're playing a turn-based JRPG as idols, like Japanese idols. So singers, actors, dancers, things like that. Like they're all like teenage idols, or young adult idols. Or kid idols, but they're idols nonetheless. And you play as these characters who each have a, which you can compare to a persona from the Persona series, but their persona, instead of like being, you know, a demon or something like that, is a Fire Emblem character. And the main character, Itsuki, his partner is Chrom from Fire Emblem Awakening. And there's, you know, a bunch of other well-recognizable Fire Emblem characters that are paired up with other party members. And what this game really is a love letter to the Fire Emblem franchise. And I know that sounds weird hearing the premise of what Tokyo Mirage Sessions is, but when you get to the final like 2 chapters, basically when you get to the final dungeon of that game, there are moments that like brought me to tears of just like showing the love and care that Atlus had for Fire Emblem, like its history, and just making it work in the scope of what Tokyo Mirage Sessions is as a game. And I don't want to get into spoilers about it, but it's really, really great and really, really special. And I still think about like specific moments at the end of that game from time to time, just on my own, just like, on my everyday thoughts. And it's very, very incredible. And so with outside of Tokyo Mirage Sessions, or not Tokyo Mirage Sessions in general, but the end of the game, Tokyo Mirage Sessions has a great, great, great combat system where basically if you hit an enemy's weakness, which is kind of notorious of Atlus, in Shin Megami Tensei, it's like, if you hit their weakness, you get an additional attack. If you knock them down in Persona, you can do a follow-up attack or a baton pass, in more recent games. But in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, it creates a session, which is where basically each party member has a list and learns a list of session skills throughout the game. And as long as you have a move that they can connect with, then they'll continue the session. And it can, once you get to the later ends of the game, the session can be like, up to 10, 12 time combo, or if I remember correctly. It gets really, really fun, and it's, very well animated. And I would probably say that, I don't consider this game a masterpiece, even though I truly, truly adore it, and I think it is a very high quality game. But I think a big reason to that is that there's definitely not enough variety when it comes to battle and things like that, in the sense of like when you do the session stuff, you'll always see the same cutscene for the same move, so that can get a little dry at times. And thankfully they made a feature in Encore on the Switch that you can skip that, or you can disable it basically, so you don't have to watch the sessions play out every time like you did originally on the Wii U. And yeah, I think this is a really great game. I think the cast is colorful and diverse. I think that the dungeons, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I think the dungeons are more fun than like in any of the Persona games, mainly because like I think the puzzles are way better and more in depth. This starts out relatively simple, but then you get to like later dungeons and it gets a lot harder and to figure out the puzzles. And it's really, really fun when you finally figure out in certain dungeons what the solution is to the problem. Because there were definitely times when I played it originally where I was just like, I can't figure this puzzle out at all, and it was like the main thing of the whole dungeon. And once you finally figured it out, it felt so gratifying. And yeah, it is a really, really great game. It's still my favorite game that's on the Switch. It's still my favorite game that's on the Wii U. It's a really, really special game. I remember going into my GameStop to pick up my pre-order on the Wii U back, when it came out, I think December 2015. And the GameStop employees didn't know what I was talking about, even though it was a brand new game that just came out, and someone definitely had to get the pre-orders ready. And that was just the sign. Was like, oh, this game's not going to do well. This game's really not going to do well. And it didn't. And for the longest time, ever since the Switch was announced, I was just, I was that annoying guy on Twitter where I was just like, port this game to Switch. But not just because I wanted it on Switch, it was because I wanted other people to play it on Switch. I'm content. I played it, and I had access to it still, but I wanted other people to discover this game that I fell in love with. And thankfully it got announced for Switch, and it's been on Switch for about 2 years now. And I know a good number of my friends personally got the game because they wanted to support it after all I've said about it online. But I'm very happy that, and I'm very happy for that. But I also feel like it wasn't enough, and I feel like that a lot of people still haven't played this game or know what this game is and what makes it great. And I think that this was a good platform to talk about it. And again, I highly recommend it, especially if you have one of the new OLED switches too. Like, I booted that game up specifically to see it because it's a very colorful game, which goes hand in hand with Atlus nowadays. It is absolutely stunning on the OLED Switch, and in general, it's a pretty game. Again, but I think this game is great. I wish that there was more. I wish there was more support for that game. From a development standpoint, like I wish that there was more money funded into that project, because I do think that if it had like the same marketing and budget that like Persona 5 had, I think that it would be a way more successful game, where we could potentially have seen more in the series, like as a series. Like, we could have gotten a sequel. In reality, like, unfortunately, I don't think that this game will ever get a sequel or like a follow-up that's like in the same vein as Tokyo Mirage Sessions, like new cast, new Fire Emblem characters, but same battle system but a different location in Japan or whatever. But like it does feel a little bit bare bones outside of the dungeons. But man, I love that game a lot, and I think it's really special. And I hope that you guys give it a chance. Again, it's on Wii U and Switch exclusively. So if you want to check it out, please feel free to. I highly recommend it. And so that's everything I have to say on Tokyo Mirage Sessions. If you want to follow me on Twitter, where I talk about a lot of JRPGs and Japanese games, you can tweet me or follow me, tweet, follow, whatever you want to do, at Cam Final Mix. And I just love talking about video games, and that's why I'm here. So thank you to Matt and Jeff for inviting me on to do this. I hope you all enjoy, and happy gaming.
Hey there, Screen Beans. Have you heard about Screen Snark?
Rachel, this is an ad break. They aren't screen beans until they listen to the show.
Fine. Potential Screen Beans. You like movies and TV shows, right?
I mean, who doesn't? Screen Snark is a casual conversation about the movies and television shows that are shaping us as we live our everyday lives.
That's right, Matt. We have a chat with at least one incredible guest every episode, hailing from all walks. We've interviewed chefs,
writers, costumers, musicians,
yoga teachers, comedians, burlesque dancers,
folks in the film and TV industry,
and more.
We'd be delighted for you to join us every other Monday on the Certain POV Podcast Network.
Or wherever you get your podcasts, fresh and tasty off the presses.
What? That's not...
Can I call them Screen Beans now?
Fine.
Screen Beans.
So tune in and we'll see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere.
'Cause you're all Screen Beans now.
You will be mine. Aurora.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.